The Golden State Warriors are poised to bounce back after their first loss of the season, unlike Donovan Clingan, who's never bouncing back from this. Despite losing to Portland, early season losses are some of the best teachers in the game. Nothing helps a coach learn more about his players than what happens when the chips are down. And nothing tells you more about a team than adversity on the second half of a back-to-back after playing and winning against one of the best teams in the league. The Warriors' game against the Trailblazers was there for the home team to win. Not only was that battle against the Nuggets exhausting, it went into overtime against a formidable team led by a top 2 player in the world. A scheduled loss. Still, there was plenty to be excited about as we saw just how much room for error remains on the roster. In the last video, we talked about how important it was for a proper reintegration of Moses Moody into the lineup. He's back from injury and Steve Kerr made the right decision, albeit with some questionable execution. While Moses Moody came off the bench, Kerr opted to start with Quentin Post, a change in the formula reflecting the decision to keep Horford out of back-to-back games, as well as keeping Draymond Green from playing too many minutes at center. But there is another move that Kerr made as well that could have some adverse impact to one of the young players. The Warriors already being shorthanded and having to be further restricted coming up against a team that thrives on pace, length, and athleticism is a recipe for a difficult road ahead. But if we learned one thing, it's how important this one player is to the Warriors and what they'll have to do to have their best chance of winning the toughest games for the rest of the season. Now get ready. You're about to get. Clearly, back-to-backs on the road are very difficult. What's important, however, isn't the overall result, win or lose, but at what point the team ran out of enough juice to stay with their opponents and how the coach handled that moment. And that happened right as the game approached halftime, specifically with 3 minutes left to go in the second quarter. At this point, Jonathan Kuminga leaves the floor with the Warriors down 2 and the Portland Trailblazers go on a run to end the first half up by 13 points. This margin ensured the Warriors would never catch up to the young team. While JK sat for those few minutes, the Warriors lost the guy who was guarding the Blazers' best player who got hot around the same time. They didn't have another elite athlete or athletes with size and length to match Portland's pace who was ready and not worn down from the game the night prior. But this isn't a crying session. Matchup-wise, the Blazers are a tough win for the Warriors. While they're not a better team, they have the physical tools to make things difficult for Golden State, whereas they would not fare as well against other teams such as the Rockets or the Timberwolves. This isn't a knock on the Blazers. The Portland Trailblazers are a very good team.
You coming to play Portland, there ain't no more nights off. There ain't no more gimme wins versus Portland, man. Chauncey got those guys picking up full court, 94 feet every play. And then they rotate bodies like 5 in, 5 out. Somebody else picking you up full. Somebody else picking you up full. Hey, I'm not gonna lie, it's crazy. Then they go five smalls and everybody's 6'6", 6'9" through 6'6". So I'm not gonna lie, I love the team.
While their record in prior years have them near the bottom of the standings, and they've recently traded one of their best young talents in Anfernee Simons, they've most definitely improved coming into the season. Despite losing, they recently played a competitive game against last season's Western Conference finalists, the Minnesota Timberwolves, where they led for the first 3 quarters before getting outscored in the fourth. Their inexperience made it difficult for them to close. The worst thing you can do is overreact to a team or a player's floor on display, especially this early in the season. If it's one thing I can bet on is that certain guys will get better as the season progresses, most notably Brandon Podziemski. Pods is having a rough start to the season and 3 games in is averaging 9 points, 5 boards, and 1 assist while shooting 36% from the field and 31% from 3 in 30 minutes. But this is nothing new as he has noticeably struggled to start each of his first 2 seasons before finding his flow somewhere down the line. Some of you might have noticed that he wasn't in the starting lineup without Horford or Moody threatening that position. Kerr instead opted to go with Curry, Jimmy, Kuminga, Draymond, and Post. Because it was the second leg of a back-to-back, it's likely Curry used the opportunity to try the alternative lineup. I'd expect come Monday night, the Warriors field a lineup of Curry, Moody, Kuminga, Jimmy, and Draymond, or some variation of the sort. A week or 2 ago, I suggested the Warriors run a lineup featuring Curry, Jimmy, Kuminga, Draymond, and Horford while Moody was out, and it did in fact happen. Kerr stated this was suggested to him by assistant coaches Terry Stotts and Chris DeMarco.
When did you decide to go to the jumbo lineup?
It was during a timeout. Terry suggested it. Chris DeMarco also suggested it. They just thought the way Steph was going with Jimmy out there, we were going to score. That was my biggest concern. Can we execute? They just reminded me we have Steph and Jimmy, and they'll find a way to score, and they did. And it was fantastic to watch the defense with that kind of size and length.
I know you've spent, probably a month talking about various combinations. Is that one you even thought you might go to?
We never even talked about that combination until tonight. But it just felt like the right thing to do. We just couldn't stop them. We felt like to win the game, we were going to have to get our best defensive lineup on the floor, our most athletic lineup. And it was really fun to watch that group that's never played together close a game against one of the best teams in the league.
In 8 minutes, that lineup had a plus 47 net rating. Replace Horford with Pods and that net rating drops to 21, although with 3 times the amount of minutes played.
Early in the year, it's all about experimenting, trying to figure out what we're doing and what lineups work. So if we can win in the process of experimenting, that's always good for us.
With Moody back in the fold and Horford on low usage, it makes sense to have Moody in the small ball 5 lineup where doable, although the starting 2-guard and center position might go through a few cycles throughout the season. Yes, this means until further notice that permanent starting lineup includes Curry, Butler, Green, and Kuminga. I do suspect Kerr wants to take a long and hard look at Post in the lineup before going back to Moody, however. The reason for that is, as I've mentioned before, keeping Draymond at the 4 instead of the 5 where possible. This led to one of the issues the Warriors ran into in Portland. Some of these size deficiencies were exposed as Blazers players took advantage on a number of possessions. Buddy Hield especially struggled against these players with length and oftentimes didn't really look like he belonged on the floor. But this isn't new or surprising, as it's something we've discussed as a problem for the Warriors facing the Blazers. When you look at it under a microscope, the Warriors, having played against them earlier in the preseason, likely drove Kerr's decision at least in part to have Quentin Post as the starting center instead of Draymond. It was a genuine counter for Donovan Clingan, who at 7'2" has enough size and skill to dominate Draymond in the paint. Not only that, but he also stretches the floor at times. With Post, the Warriors can at least drag him out to the perimeter in order to create space for JK and Jimmy, although with JK's athleticism, it didn't matter where on the floor Clingan was.
JK snake dribble. Oh man!
While I'm not too concerned about the nuanced lineups, I expected Kerr to try a few different things against Portland. The vets were tired and obviously started fading by the midway mark of the game with slow closeouts when they lost their legs, while the Blazers clearly still had it going.
How do you feel right now?
I'm ready to go to sleep. I'm a little tired right now.
It's definitely a curious case why the Warriors so early in the season are the only team scheduled with 2 sets of back-to-backs within the first 8 games. Players are obviously not in peak condition just yet. Either Adam Silver is clearly trying to make life difficult for NBA creators like myself, or maybe these little things were meant to keep Steph Curry and an older squad in check. The Warriors will likely revert to Draymond to start at center against the Grizzlies while putting Moses Moody at shooting guard. Draymond's history with Jaren Jackson Jr. gives him an edge, while Jackson's ability to space the floor and provide top-tier defense will have him destroy Quentin Post if he starts. The only alternative would be to start Horford, which I'd be shocked if Steve Kerr did. This would complete the lineup as Curry, Moody, Jimmy, Kuminga, and Draymond. That unit should be the second best defensive lineup next to the one with Al Horford, which will likely be closing the game. With Moody's second game back, I don't expect him to close, but it'll be interesting to see which 5 Kerr closes with once he's had 3 or so games under his belt. That's actually a very good problem to have, and I expect things will rotate as we get closer to mid-season. The West is stacked, so no wins in this conference will come easy. Any team can win on any night, so the Warriors need to take every opponent seriously. Let me hear your thoughts on the Portland game. What would you change about this team to combat size and length? Do you still have faith in Pods, or do you think he already got enough grace from Steve Kerr? Post your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Till next time, swish.